Picture this: balloons hanging from the ceiling, a homemade cake sitting perfect on the counter, and absolutely nobody showing up to celebrate with you. That's exactly what happened to Celia Winters on her 30th birthday. But what came next? That phone call changed everything she thought she knew about her life. Have you ever thrown a party where nobody came? Have you ever felt completely forgotten by the people who should love you most? Well, buckle up, because Celia's story will make you question everything about family loyalty. Celia had spent 3 days preparing. She was a third-grade teacher in Millbrook, Tennessee, the kind of woman who remembered every student's birthday but somehow always felt invisible in her own family. She'd married her college sweetheart Marcus 5 years ago, thinking she'd found her forever person. The decorations looked perfect. Pink and gold streamers, her favorite colors, draped across the living room. She'd even made her grandmother's famous chocolate cake from scratch. The dining table was set for 12 people. Her parents, Marcus's parents, her sister Emma, her brother Jake, and a few close friends. By 7 o'clock, nobody had shown up. Not one person. Celia sat on her couch in her new birthday dress, staring at her phone. No missed calls. No text messages explaining why everyone was late. Just complete silence. The house felt enormous and empty. Every tick of the clock on the wall sounded like a hammer hitting her heart. She'd sent invitations 2 weeks ago. Everyone had said yes. Her phone suddenly rang, making her jump. The caller ID showed Harold, father-in-law. "Hello," she answered, hoping maybe everyone was planning a surprise somewhere else. "Celia, honey, we need to talk. Right now." His voice sounded different. Serious. Almost scared.
About what?
"Are you coming to the party? Where is everyone?" Harold took a deep breath. "Nobody's coming, sweetheart. And there's something you need to know about Marcus." The words hit Celia like a truck. Her father-in-law's voice was shaking, something she'd never heard before. Harold was a retired police officer, the kind of man who never showed weakness. "What about Marcus?" she whispered. "He's been cheating on you, Celia, for over a year. And the whole family knew." The room started spinning. Celia gripped the phone tighter, her knuckles turning white. "That's not possible. You're wrong." "I wish I was wrong, honey. I found out last week, and I've been fighting with everyone about telling you. Your sister Emma knew. Your parents knew. My wife knew. Everyone decided to keep it quiet. Have you ever had a moment where your entire world crashes down in seconds? Where everything you believed was true suddenly becomes a lie? But why didn't anyone come tonight?" Celia's voice was barely a whisper. Harold's voice broke. "Because they all chose him over you. They're at Emma's house right now, celebrating with Marcus and his new girlfriend. They said you'd be too dramatic if you found out." Celia's legs gave out. She sank onto the floor, still holding the phone. The beautiful cake she'd made was mocking her from the kitchen counter. "Who is she?" The question came out like a sob. "Her name is Brittany. She works at his office. She's 24. 24. 6 years younger than Celia. 6 years younger than the woman who'd been cooking Marcus dinner every night, doing his laundry, supporting his dreams. "Where's Marcus now?" she asked. Harold was quiet for too long. "He's not at Emma's anymore. He left about an hour ago." Celia's heart stopped. "Then where is he?" "Celia, I think he might be at your house. With her." The front door key was turning in the lock. Celia heard voices before she saw them. Marcus's laugh, the one that used to make her feel safe, mixed with a woman's giggle. They were in her house. On her birthday. She crept toward the hallway, her heart pounding so loud she was sure they could hear it. The voices were coming from upstairs. From their bedroom. "Do you know what it feels like to become a stranger in your own home? To hear your husband's voice talking sweetly to someone who isn't you?" Celia climbed the stairs, each step feeling like walking toward her execution. The bedroom door was cracked open. Through the gap, she could see Marcus sitting on their bed, the bed she'd picked out for their second anniversary. A blonde woman was lying with her head in his lap. She was young, beautiful, everything Celia felt she wasn't. "When are you going to tell her?" the blonde woman asked. Marcus ran his fingers through her hair. "Soon, baby. I just need to figure out the house situation first. And the money." I hate sneaking around like this, she pouted. I know, Brittany. But trust me, once I'm free from Celia, we can do whatever we want. Go wherever we want. Celia's hand was on the doorknob before she realized it. She pushed the door open. Well, you're free now. Marcus jumped up so fast he knocked Brittany onto the floor. His face went completely white. Celia, what are you doing here? In my own house? On my birthday? Really, Marcus? Brittany scrambled to fix her clothes, her face red with embarrassment. She looked even younger up close, with bright blue eyes and perfect skin. This isn't what it looks like, Marcus stammered. Celia laughed, but it came out harsh and bitter. It looks like you're cheating on me in our bedroom while my entire family chose to celebrate with your mistress instead of coming to my birthday party. Marcus's mouth fell open. How did you? Your father has more decency than you do. Or anyone else in my family, apparently. Brittany finally found her voice. Marcus, you said you were getting divorced. We are getting divorced, Marcus said, his voice suddenly cold. Starting tomorrow. The next morning, Celia woke up alone in the guest bedroom. Marcus and Brittany had left some time during the night, but not before Marcus made it clear that their marriage was over. 5 years, Celia whispered to the empty house. 5 years of cooking his favorite meals, supporting him through law school, believing they were building a life together. She walked through the house like a ghost. The birthday decorations were still up, mocking her with their cheerful colors. The untouched cake sat on the counter, surrounded by unused plates and napkins. Her phone buzzed with text messages. Her sister Emma, we need to talk. Her mother, don't be dramatic about this. Her brother Jake, Marcus is a good guy, just give him space. Have you ever felt completely abandoned by everyone who's supposed to love you? Like you're the villain in a story where you thought you were the hero? Celia deleted every message without responding. Instead, she made coffee and sat at her kitchen table, staring at the wedding photos on the wall. In every picture, she looked so happy, so confident that she'd found her person. She'd been teaching 3rd grade for 8 years, saving money for the house they'd bought together. Marcus was a lawyer now, making good money, but somehow they never seemed to have enough. He always had reasons why they couldn't save more, couldn't take vacations, couldn't start the family they'd talked about. Around noon, she decided to check their bank account online. Maybe understanding their finances would help her figure out what to do next. The balance made her stomach drop. Their savings account, which should have had $15,000, showed $87. She logged into their checking account. Marcus had been making withdrawals for months. Large ones. Sometimes twice a week. Her hands shook as she clicked through the transaction history. Expensive dinners at restaurants she'd never been to. Hotel charges. Shopping purchases at stores that sold women's clothing in sizes much smaller than hers. He'd been spending their money on Brittany for months. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the automatic transfer she found, scheduled for tomorrow morning. Marcus was planning to move their remaining money into an account with only his name on it. He wasn't just leaving her. He was stealing everything they'd built together. Celia printed every bank statement, every transaction, every piece of evidence she could find. Marcus thought she was just a small-town teacher who wouldn't fight back. He was about to learn how wrong he was. She called the bank first. I need to put a freeze on all transfers from our joint accounts. I'm sorry, ma'am, but we can't do that unless there's evidence of fraud or... There is fraud. My husband has been stealing from our joint account without my knowledge. The banker's voice changed. In that case, we can put a temporary hold while you file a report. Next, she called Harold. I need a good lawyer. The best one you know. I was hoping you'd say that, her father-in-law replied. I know exactly who you should call. Have you ever had a moment where you realized you were stronger than you thought? Where you stopped being a victim and started being a fighter? By afternoon, Celia was sitting in the office of Rebecca Martinez, the toughest divorce lawyer in the county. Rebecca was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a reputation for destroying cheating husbands in court. Tell me everything, Rebecca said, pulling out a legal pad. Celia explained about the affair, the money, the family betrayal, everything. Rebecca took notes, occasionally asking sharp questions. How long have these withdrawals been happening? At least 6 months, maybe longer. And your family knew about the affair? Everyone except me, apparently. Rebecca leaned back in her chair. Celia, I'm going to ask you something important. Do you want to just get divorced, or do you want to win? What's the difference? Getting divorced means splitting things fairly and moving on. Winning means making sure Marcus pays for every lie he told and every dollar he stole. Celia thought about the empty birthday party, about finding Marcus with Brittany in their bed, about her family choosing him over her. I want to win. Rebecca smiled for the first time since they'd met. Good. Because I just realized something about your husband's financial moves. If I'm right, he didn't just steal from you. She pulled out a file and started flipping through papers. You said Marcus works at Henderson and Associates? Yes. I represented someone else in a case against that firm last year. If Marcus has been moving large amounts of money around, and if he's been using the firm's accounts. Rebecca looked up with something that might have been excitement. Celia, I think your husband might have been embezzling from his law firm too. The room went quiet except for the sound of Celia's heart pounding. If Marcus had been stealing from his employer, he wasn't just going to lose their marriage. He was going to lose everything. Sometimes the universe gives you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. And sometimes that gift comes wrapped in your cheating husband's stupidity. Rebecca pulled out a thick folder and spread papers across her desk. 3 months ago, I represented a secretary from Henderson and Associates. She was fired for asking too many questions about missing client funds. Have you ever watched someone dig their own grave without even knowing it? Marcus had been so busy covering up his affair, he'd gotten sloppy with everything else. What kind of questions? Celia asked, leaning forward. Questions about why certain client payments weren't matching the books. Questions about why some settlement money seemed to disappear before reaching clients. Celia's stomach clenched. And you think Marcus was involved? I think Marcus was running the whole operation, Rebecca said, pulling out bank records. Look at these dates. She pointed to a series of numbers on the paper. Every large withdrawal from Marcus and Celia's account happened within days of missing money from the law firm's client accounts. He was stealing from clients and using your joint account as a temporary holding place before moving the money somewhere else, Rebecca explained. Classic embezzlement scheme. The pieces clicked together in Celia's mind. All those times Marcus said he was working late. All those business trips that seemed too frequent. All those expensive gifts for Brittany that he somehow afforded on a junior lawyer salary. But here's the beautiful part, Rebecca continued with a smile that could cut glass. Marcus made one huge mistake. She pulled out another document. He put your name on some of the transfer paperwork as a witness. If we don't act fast, you could be charged as an accomplice. Celia's blood went cold. What do? We call the district attorney's office first thing tomorrow morning. You're going to turn in your own husband. The next morning, Celia sat in the district attorney's office feeling like she was in a nightmare. But this wasn't a dream. This was her turning her husband in for stealing from people who trusted him. District Attorney Jennifer Walsh looked exactly like what Celia imagined a prosecutor should look like. Sharp suit, serious eyes, and a stack of files that could bury Marcus alive. Mrs. Winters, we've been investigating Henderson and Associates for 6 months, Walsh said. Your husband's name has come up repeatedly. Celia handed over every document Rebecca had told her to bring. Bank statements, transfer records, credit card bills showing expensive purchases she never knew about. Do you know what it feels like to realize your entire marriage was built on lies? That every nice dinner, every gift, every romantic gesture was paid for with stolen money? How much money are we talking about? Celia asked. Walsh flipped through a file. So far, we can prove he stole at least $200,000 from client settlements. But we think it's closer to $500,000. The room spun. $500,000. While Celia was clipping coupons and buying generic cereal, Marcus was living like a millionaire on other people's money. There's something else, Walsh continued. We have surveillance photos of your husband meeting with known associates of the Castellano crime family. Celia's heart stopped. Crime family? Money laundering. We think Marcus wasn't just stealing from clients. He was washing dirty money through the law firm and taking a cut. This wasn't just cheating and theft anymore. This was organized crime. Celia had been married to someone she never really knew at all. What happens now? She whispered. Now we build a case. And Mrs. Winters, I need you to do something that's going to be very difficult. Walsh leaned forward, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. I need you to go home and pretend everything is normal.
Can you do that?
Before Celia could answer, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. We need to talk tonight. Coming home at 8. He was walking right into their trap. Pretending everything was normal while waiting for your criminal husband to come home might be the hardest thing Celia had ever done. She cooked dinner, set the table, and tried not to throw up from nerves. At exactly 8 o'clock, Marcus walked through the front door like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't destroyed their marriage, stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars, and possibly gotten involved with the mob. Smells good in here, he said, kissing her cheek like they were still a happy couple. Have you ever had to smile at someone who betrayed you in every possible way? Someone who put your entire future at risk without caring? They sat down to dinner, and Marcus actually complimented the meatloaf. Celia wanted to scream, but instead she just nodded and asked about his day. Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, Marcus said, cutting his meat carefully. I think we should take a little break from each other. A break. Celia kept her voice steady, even though her hands were shaking. Just temporarily. Maybe you could stay with your sister for a few weeks while I figure some things out. He wanted her gone. Probably so he could move Brittany in completely, or maybe so he could clean out whatever was left in their accounts. What kind of things? She asked. Marcus shifted in his chair. Work stuff. There's been some confusion about client accounts, and I need to focus on sorting it out. Confusion. He called stealing $500,000 confusion. Is everything okay at the firm? Celia pressed, remembering what DA Walsh had told her to find out. It's fine. Just some paperwork issues with a few settlements. Nothing major. He was lying so easily, so smoothly. How many times had he lied to her face like this? Maybe I can help, Celia suggested. I'm good with organizing paperwork. Marcus's fork stopped halfway to his mouth.
No.
Absolutely not. This is confidential legal stuff. The panic in his voice was barely hidden. He was scared. When do you want me to leave? She asked quietly. Tomorrow would be good. I'll help you pack. As Marcus went back to eating like he'd just asked her to pick up groceries instead of abandon her own home, Celia's phone buzzed with a text. It was from a number she didn't recognize. This is Sarah Chin. Rebecca Martinez gave me your number. I used to work at Henderson and Associates. We need to talk. Tonight. After Marcus fell asleep, Celia snuck out to meet Sarah Chun at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. Sarah was the secretary Rebecca had mentioned, the one who got fired for asking too many questions. I've been waiting months for someone to believe me, Sarah said, sliding into the booth across from Celia. She looked tired, like someone who'd been carrying a heavy secret for too long. Have you ever met someone who could change your entire life with just one conversation? Sarah Chun was about to become Celia's secret weapon. Tell me everything, Celia said. Sarah pulled out a folder thick with papers. I kept copies of everything before they fired me. Every suspicious transaction, every client file that didn't add up, every meeting Marcus had with people who definitely weren't clients. She spread the papers across the table like a roadmap to Marcus's crimes. Your husband wasn't working alone. The whole firm knew what he was doing. The whole firm? Senior partners, other lawyers, even some of the paralegals. They were all getting a cut. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. But Marcus was the one with connections to move the money safely. Sarah showed Celia photos she'd taken with her phone. Marcus meeting with men in expensive suits outside the office. Marcus handing over thick envelopes. Marcus shaking hands with people who looked like they could break someone's legs for fun.
Who are these people?
Celia asked, pointing to one particularly scary-looking man. Tony Castellano's nephew. The Castellanos run most of the illegal gambling and loan operations in the state. Celia felt sick. How deep was Marcus involved? Deep enough that when this all comes out, he's not just going to jail. He's going to need protection. Sarah leaned forward. Celia, these people don't forgive and forget. If Marcus gets arrested and starts talking to save himself. She didn't need to finish the sentence. Celia understood. Marcus had gotten involved with people who solved problems permanently. There's something else, Sarah said, pulling out one more document. I found this the day before I got fired. It was a property deed. Marcus had bought a house in Florida under a fake name, using stolen client money. A house where he was probably planning to disappear with Brittany once he'd cleaned out every account he could access. He's planning to run, Celia whispered. Sarah nodded. The question is, are you going to let him? Before Celia could answer, she saw headlights pull into the diner parking lot. A black SUV with tinted windows. Sarah, she whispered, I think we're being watched. The black SUV sat in the parking lot for exactly 3 minutes, then drove away without anyone getting out. But those 3 minutes felt like 3 hours to Celia. They know, Sarah whispered, quickly shoving papers back into her folder. Someone told them we were meeting. Have you ever realized you're in way more danger than you thought? That the person you trusted most in the world might actually get you killed? They left the diner separately, Sarah going out the back exit and Celia walking to her car like nothing had happened. But her hands were shaking so hard she could barely start the engine. By the time she got home, Marcus was awake and waiting in the living room. He was fully dressed at 2 a.m, sitting in the dark. Where were you? He asked when she walked through the door. Couldn't sleep. Went for a drive. Marcus stood up, and for the first time in their marriage, Celia felt actually afraid of him.
Funny thing about that.
I called your sister to see if you'd gone there. She said she hasn't heard from you all day. He moved closer, and Celia could see something dangerous in his eyes. Something she'd never noticed before. I also got an interesting phone call tonight, Marcus continued. Someone saw you having coffee with Sarah Chen. Celia's heart pounded, but she forced her voice to stay steady. Who's Sarah Chen? Don't play stupid, Celia. It doesn't suit you. He was standing right in front of her now, close enough that she could smell his cologne. The same cologne she used to love, now making her sick. I don't know what you think you're doing, Marcus said quietly, but you need to be very careful. Some secrets are dangerous to know. The threat was crystal clear. Her own husband was threatening her. Are you threatening me, Marcus? He smiled, but it wasn't a smile she'd fallen in love with. This smile was cold, calculating. I'm protecting you. There are people involved in my business who don't like loose ends. Marcus moved toward the stairs, then stopped. Pack your bags tomorrow like we discussed. And Celia? If anyone else asks you questions about me or the firm, you don't know anything. For your own safety. As his footsteps disappeared upstairs, Celia realized she wasn't just fighting for her marriage or her money anymore. She was fighting for her life. And tomorrow morning, Marcus was planning to make his biggest mistake yet. D.A. Walsh had just texted her. Arrest warrant approved. We move at dawn. At 6 a.m, Celia's world exploded. FBI agents surrounded their house like something out of a movie. Marcus barely had time to put on pants before they had him in handcuffs. Marcus Winters, you're under arrest for embezzlement, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Have you ever watched someone's entire life fall apart in real time? Marcus went from cocky and threatening to terrified and confused in about 30 seconds. This is a mistake, he yelled as they dragged him toward the door. Celia, call my lawyer. Tell them this is a mistake. But Celia just stood there in her bathrobe, watching the man who'd threatened her the night before get exactly what he deserved. Agent Rodriguez, the lead investigator, turned to Celia. Mrs. Winters, we need you to come to the station for your protection. Word's going to get out fast, and some of your husband's associates might blame you for this. Within hours, the story was all over the local news. Local lawyer arrested in $500,000 embezzlement scheme. Marcus's picture was on every channel, looking shocked and guilty. But the news coverage was just the beginning. By noon, Celia's phone was ringing nonstop. Her family, who had abandoned her at her birthday party, suddenly wanted to talk. Her sister Emma showed up at the police station where Celia was giving her statement. Celia, what have you done? Marcus is family. Was he family when he was cheating on me? Was he family when he stole our money? Emma looked uncomfortable. We were trying to protect you from getting hurt. By choosing him over me? For the first time in years, Emma didn't have an answer. She just stood there, realizing how wrong they'd all been. But Marcus wasn't done fighting. From jail, he made one phone call. Not to a lawyer. Not to his parents. He called Brittany and somehow convinced her to do something that would destroy any chance he had left. That afternoon, Brittany showed up at the local newspaper with a story that made Celia's blood boil. Wife frames innocent husband for revenge, read the headline in the Millbrook Tribune. Brittany had told the reporter that Celia was lying about everything because she was jealous and vindictive. Have you ever been so angry that you could barely see straight? When Celia read that article, she realized Marcus was still trying to destroy her, even from behind bars. But here's what Marcus didn't know. While he was in jail making desperate phone calls, Celia had been busy too. She'd spent the morning with Rebecca Martinez and D.A. Walsh, and they had a surprise waiting for him. The FBI had been recording all of Marcus's phone calls from jail, including the one where he told Brittany exactly what to tell the newspaper, including the one where he admitted to hiding money in offshore accounts, including the one where he threatened to handle Celia permanently once he got out. Your husband just confessed to everything, D.A. Walsh told Celia with a satisfied smile, and made terroristic threats against you. His bail just got revoked. By evening, the Tribune had to print a retraction. Turned out Brittany had been receiving stolen money too, and now she was facing charges as well. But the best part came when Celia got home from the police station. Her neighbors, the same people who used to think Marcus was such a great guy, were lined up outside her house with casseroles and support. Mrs. Patterson from next door grabbed Celia's hands. Honey, we had no idea what you were going through. That man fooled all of us. Mr. Johnson brought over a lasagna. If you need anything at all, you just holler. For the first time in months, Celia felt like she wasn't alone. But the biggest shock came when Harold, Marcus's own father, showed up at her door. Celia, I owe you an apology. And I have something that belongs to you. He handed her a thick envelope. This is everything I've been able to recover from Marcus's hidden accounts. It's not all of it, but it's a start. Inside was a check for $50,000. Money Marcus had stolen from her, money Harold had spent weeks tracking down and recovering. Why are you helping me? Celia asked. Harold's eyes were full of tears. Because you're the daughter I never had, and my son turned into someone I don't recognize. 6 months later, Celia sat in a federal courtroom watching Marcus get sentenced to 12 years in prison. 12 years for stealing from clients who trusted him. 12 years for money laundering. 12 years for threatening his wife. The judge looked down at Marcus with obvious disgust. Mr. Winters, you violated the trust of your clients, your colleagues, and your family. Your actions have consequences. Have you ever felt justice actually being served? When the gavel came down, Celia felt something she hadn't felt in years.
Peace.
But the real victory wasn't Marcus going to prison. The real victory was what happened next. During the investigation, the FBI had recovered almost $400,000 from Marcus's hidden accounts. Money he'd stolen from clients, money he'd planned to use to disappear with Brittany. Under federal law, Celia was entitled to recover everything that had been stolen from their joint accounts, plus damages for emotional distress, plus half of everything Marcus owned. Rebecca Martinez smiled as she handed Celia the settlement papers. Congratulations, Mrs. Winters. You're about to become a very wealthy woman. The house, the cars, Marcus's retirement account, his life insurance policy, everything was now hers. But more than that, she was getting money from the law firm as well. Henderson and Associates was being shut down, and all the partners were facing charges. What will you do with it all? Rebecca asked. Celia had been thinking about that question for months. She could travel, buy a bigger house, retire early from teaching. She could do anything she wanted. I'm going to help other women, she said finally. Women like me who trusted the wrong person and need help starting over. Within a month, Celia had started the Winters Foundation for Women's Independence, a nonprofit organization that provided legal help, financial counseling, and emotional support for women leaving abusive relationships. Sarah Chun became her first employee. Harold volunteered as a board member. Even some of Celia's students' parents, women who'd heard her story, came forward to volunteer. But the most surprising person to reach out was someone Celia never expected to hear from again. Her sister Emma knocked on her door one evening, tears in her eyes and an apology on her lips. "I was wrong," Emma said, standing on Celia's doorstep with flowers and a face full of shame. "We were all wrong, and I can't live with it anymore." Have you ever had someone apologize for something so big that you don't know if you can forgive them? Emma had chosen Marcus over her own sister, but she was standing there asking for a second chance. "We thought we were protecting you from drama," Emma continued. "But we were really just protecting ourselves from having to deal with a messy situation." Celia invited her inside, and they talked for hours. About the affair, about the family's betrayal, about how Marcus had convinced everyone that Celia was too sensitive to handle the truth. "He manipulated all of us," Emma realized. "He made us think you were the problem." By the end of the conversation, Emma was volunteering at the Winters Foundation too. Their parents followed a few weeks later, shamefaced but eager to make amends. But forgiveness was a process, not a moment. Some days Celia felt generous and understanding. Other days she remembered sitting alone at her birthday party and felt angry all over again. The Winters Foundation grew quickly. Within a year, they were helping dozens of women escape bad marriages, find good lawyers, and rebuild their lives. Celia discovered she had a talent for seeing through lies and helping other women trust their instincts. She bought a beautiful house with a big garden and started hosting support group meetings in her living room. She took self-defense classes, learned to manage investments, and traveled to places she'd always wanted to see. But the biggest change was internal. Celia stopped being the woman who made everyone else comfortable and started being the woman who made herself proud. Then on a Thursday evening in October, her doorbell rang. When she opened it, she found Marcus standing there. He'd been released early for good behavior and cooperation with federal investigators. He looked older, thinner, beaten down by 3 years in prison. "Celia," he said quietly, "we need to talk." For a moment, she felt that old fear creep up her spine. Then she remembered who she was now. She wasn't the same woman Marcus had betrayed and threatened. "No," she said firmly, "we really don't." Marcus tried one last manipulation, standing on the porch of the house that used to be his too. "I know you're angry, but I've changed. Prison taught me things about myself." "Good for you," Celia replied, not moving from her doorway. "Change yourself somewhere else." Have you ever looked at someone who used to control your entire world and realized they had no power over you anymore? Marcus looked smaller somehow, defeated in a way that had nothing to do with prison. "I lost everything because of you," he said, his voice getting harder. "No, Marcus. You lost everything because of you. I just stopped pretending it was my fault." Behind Marcus, Celia could see a car waiting in her driveway. Brittany sat in the passenger seat, looking older and more tired than the young woman who used to laugh in Celia's bedroom. "We're moving to Florida," Marcus said. "Starting over." "With what money?" Celia asked. "Oh, wait, I forgot. You don't have any money anymore." "I have it all." For just a moment, she saw a flash of the old Marcus. The angry, controlling man who thought he deserved everything and owed nothing. But then it passed, and he just looked tired. "I hope you can forgive me someday," he said. "I already have," Celia replied, surprising them both. "I had to forgive you, so I could move on. But forgiving you doesn't mean I have to let you back into my life." Marcus nodded slowly, like he finally understood something important. Then he walked back to the car where Brittany was waiting, and they drove away forever. That evening, Celia hosted her weekly support group meeting. 12 women sat in her living room, sharing stories of betrayal and recovery, strength and hope. Women who'd been where she'd been, women who were still finding their way. "The best revenge," Celia told them, "isn't destroying someone else. It's building a life so good that their opinion of you doesn't matter anymore. Later, alone in her beautiful house with her loyal dog and her thriving business, Celia realized something wonderful. Tomorrow was her birthday. Her 34th birthday. And this year, she wasn't throwing a party hoping people would show up. This year, she was celebrating the woman she'd become. Strong, independent, surrounded by people who chose to love her. And that, she thought with a smile, was the sweetest revenge of all.